So today's true scary story is creepy, and it also has to do with astral projection, which is pretty cool. So today's submitter's name is Adam, and Adam is 29 years old right now, but the story takes place when he was about 9 years old. During this time, unfortunately, two big things were happening in his life. His parents were getting a divorce, and his grandmother unfortunately had breast cancer. His mom, himself, and his two older brothers moved into her house to help her out with, anything that she needed because she was sick. His grandmother lived in a large two-story home in a suburb not far outside of Chicago. She owned the house for years before he was born, and the house is actually built in 1906, so a long time ago. A lot of history in this house. The local library actually had historical records and photos of this house, and he would look them up from time to time as a kid because he was very interested in history. Due to the library closing, though, those historical records are no longer available. Now, the house, he says, was pretty creepy and had spirits in it. His great aunt, his mother, and his grandmother had psychic abilities and had experiences in the home of ghosts. Now, although there are spirits in this home and the house is creepy, that is not what the story is about today. The story is about something different, something that no one talks about, and something that he rarely shares with anybody because he thinks that it sounds ridiculous, but it is true. It started when he would go to sleep at night. He would have a dream of this man wearing like an old-timey mask and Renaissance clothes. He said to try to imagine big puffy collars and dirty old clothes, very similar to what Pennywise wears in the new It movies. That's creepy. Sometime later, he called this man the Renaissance Man because of the mask that he was wearing and the clothes that he was wearing. Now, this man would walk around the house causing trouble. He would knock things off tables and make noises walking down the hallway. He terrified him, but he never actually tried to harm him. He was just mischievous. He would dream of this man for months, sometimes more, and it would absolutely terrify him. This man terrified this poor boy. Each of these dreams felt more real, and he didn't understand why it was occurring as often as it was. He would sleep in the same room as his mother, and he would often wake up crying with his teeth chattering and his body temperature freezing, terrified. He would tell his mother what was going on, but she would sort of just like hush him to sleep, sort of hush him to sleep, and wouldn't really listen to anything that he had to say. In one dream, the Renaissance Man told him that he was going to hide under his little brother's bed and scratch his feet. He was also going to hide under his bed and move his shoes so that he couldn't find his shoes. Now, his brother's bedroom was in the attic, which was large and creepy on its own, and he would often, the Renaissance Man, would often go up there and play around. So, the creepy part about this is that was just a dream, right? But when he woke up the next morning, his little brother could not find his shoes anywhere, and he just silently knew why. The Renaissance Man was weighing on him and scaring him in his waking life, but what was he supposed to do about it? He was only 9 years old, so unfortunately, he just kept this in to himself. But he had more things to worry about: school, his grandmother being sick, his parents' divorce. Being 29 now, he doesn't remember a lot of the dreams, but the ones that he does remember are clear as day, and they're the ones that I just talked about. Now, the very last time he saw this man, it was stranger than usual, and this would affect his waking life as well. So this part is scary. So he went to sleep, and of course the dream started with the Renaissance Man waiting for him in the hallway of the house. He walked around silently, leading him to the bottom portion of the house. Now, although he was terrified of him, he still felt like he had to follow him wherever he went. It was just like ingrained in him. He knew that he had no choice but to follow him. He couldn't run and he couldn't hide. And once they reach the bottom floor of the house, the Renaissance Man grabs his hand and talks to him about leaving, meaning that the Renaissance Man is going to leave him. They start floating up in the air, and they're phasing through the ceilings of the house. They begin to float higher and higher until they are literally levitating above the roof of the house. It is now outside, it is nighttime, and he can see the moonlight and he can see the neighborhood very clearly, just as it normally would be. Nothing has changed. The man starts to talk to him, and he tells them that there is something big that is going to happen in his life, and that the Renaissance Man needs to prepare him for it. Now, Adam had no idea what he was talking about because he was so focused on his fear. He never got used to seeing this man in his dreams. It always scared him. He also did not care that he was saying goodbye because he terrified terrified him and he never wanted to see him again. He woke up in the middle of the night again all of a sudden. He's of course breathing heavy and a cold sweat. He's searching around the room for his mother, but he doesn't see her. Instead, he sees this shining blue light, an outline of the Renaissance man in the corner of his room. The Renaissance man is just staring at him. The only hints of light were the moonlight peeking through the shade. The best way that he could describe what he was seeing is if someone took a blue marker and drew an outline of the Renaissance man, but just was completely transparent, apart from the shiny outline. Now he's just sitting on his bed now, with his head turned, staring at him. He's now fully awake at this moment, cannot believe what he's seeing. He throws the covers off, he runs out into the hallway, he runs down the hallway, and thankfully he sees his mother coming out of the bathroom. He starts telling his mother what he's seeing, and his mother just kind of like hushes him and calms him down, but she still does not allow him to fully explain what he saw. So he just decided he was going to ignore the fear himself and go back to sleep in his mom's bed. He said that over the years, he's never really told anybody about this experience, but it's definitely one of the more freaky experiences that he's ever had. It never made sense to him for this masked man that was a spirit to be residing in a suburban house outside of Chicago. What would someone like that from a completely different time period and a completely different historical context be doing there? He said that a lot of creepy things have happened in that house and that he has come to realize that he believes that he has psychic abilities as well. With the internet, he found out things about astral projection and gesture entities. Have you guys ever heard of those? He said that he strongly believes that he's fully capable of astral projection and that that is what was happening to him during this time period. He realized that in all of his dreams, everything was exactly as is as it normally would be. So say like you were going to be in your dream in your house at one moment and then the next moment you turn around and you're in Taco Bell. It wasn't like that. It was like everything was the same. The house was the same. The layout was the same. The neighborhood was the same. That's what astral projection is. It's when your soul leaves your body and you can see the world more often than not exactly as it is. Like we said before, when he was levitating above his grandmother's house, everything was exactly the same. And these were indicators for him that this was astral projection. To this day, he doesn't know exactly what he saw. He said, could it be a gesture entity? Like, he doesn't even call it the Renaissance man anymore. He calls it the gesture entity. He also believed that this entity was warning him of his psychic abilities because nothing spooky ever really happened to him before these instances began. And then afterwards, a bunch of spooky things happened to him. He still gets a little scared talking about him, but he has not seen him since he said goodbye 20 years ago. His great aunt and his mom unfortunately have passed away since then, but his grandmother and even his mother have always tried to help him with his psychic abilities. They heavily believe in God and they believe that he has been the best teacher in all of this. He wants to know if there's any other people out there that have had similar experiences. Apart from YouTube documentaries and just Googling it on the internet, he has never actually met anyone else who has encountered the masked gesture man. He actually attached a picture of what his grandmother's house looked like and what the man sort of looked like. So here is his grandmother's house. And then here is the masked gesture man, what he describes that he kind of looked like. Now, what do you guys think this was? Do you think he was astral projecting? Do you think he was just dreaming? What about his brother's shoes? What about when he saw him in real life in his room, sitting at the end of his bed and in the corner of his room? What do you think this entity was? Do you think this entity was good or bad? Because it was terrifying to him. Was it terrifying to him because he was only 9 years old? Or was it terrifying to him because this was a bad entity? And like I said, if anyone else has had a similar experience, he would love to know. So please drop it in the comments. It would be so cool for Adam if we could find some answers for him, or maybe even just kind of rack our brains a little bit and give him suggestions. Now I'm about to do my shout out, but before I do that, I am Kaisa. I tell true scary stories on here every other night, so if you like that, hit that subscribe button. There is a longer version of a story coming soon. I'm going to cover the Smurl family. That will be a very long video, another probably 40 to 45 minute video. Tell me what you guys think about this idea. I think I'm going to do that video and not edit it. I may edit out some dead space, but I don't think I'm going to edit it. I think I'm just going to talk to you guys. So drop in the comments and tell me what you think about that one. That would be on the 45-minute video one. And my shout out is going to Brad Freeman 6561. That is your username. Thank you so much for your incredible comment. That was such a compliment. That literally made me so happy. Thank you for that. Thank you for supporting my channel. Thank you for commenting on my videos. I truly appreciate you so much. I appreciate all of you. I may start doing 2 shout outs in my videos so that I can get to most of you, because I wish I could personally shout out each and every one of you. I love you guys. I would not have this channel without you. Also guys, I need more stories from YouTubers. I barely get any stories from you guys. They're all from TT. So please send me your scary stories. My email is in my description. It is kaisespooky@gmail.com. Send me your stories, YouTube. And then I just need you to do 2 things for me. And what are those? Have a safe night and what? Have a spooky night. Love you guys. See you in the next one.